Hi guys, it is Taurus season, so it seems to be very appropriate to use this Earth Magic deck. So we are going to have that assist us in the readings. So before we just jump into your readings, just to let you know that I still have the promotions, speed up promotion, meaning you get one level up. So you sign up for a regular reading, you get a rush reading, you sign up for rush, you get urgent, and you sign up for urgent, you get it before you finish typing. Not kidding, you get it in 24 hours. So just go on cattarot.ca and find basically where I have this special list is listed under book your reading. Now, second thing I have, annual taroscopes are still discounted, and like it's only $10 for one sign or $20 for all of the signs. So you can check your Venus sign, you can check your ascendant, you can check your sun sign. I generally like to lurk on the other people's Mars signs to see kind of like how that's going to work out. And lastly, I'm taking applications for the next round of Tarot School, which is starting May the 15th. The first group is running, and I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, such a kind of lovely group. So I'm just seeing how this evolves. It's not going to be 10 lessons as I initially thought. It will be 11 minimum. And that's it from my announcement. So guys, hopefully also you're going to join my Facebook or Instagram or both, so you can get a daily reading or kind of like a little bit kind of learn about tarot. And I think this is enough for me. So the next is your May taroscopes. Hi Cancer, and welcome to May Cancer Taroscope. So you did see that all these cards actually did come out reversed. And that kind of was probably because I was holding the deck the other way, but I always look into, these little signs. Something will be really upside down for you. Your water sign, and you will act like fire. You do know that when water meets fire, you're really talking about hot lava from volcano. Now, Scorpio usually doesn't have an issue with kind of going with that strength, but this might be a little problematic for you, and I'm going to get there because you do have this water and you have the earth over here, which are your like sister elements, and you kind of like really enjoy them. But fire is really definitely the element that kind of works differently. But since this is an oracle card, and we are working this with the energy of Taurus, which is like strong, solid, joyful, like creation. It's kind of like dedication to basically our well-being, right? Both health and financial well-being. So it's kind of really important. Maybe you kind of like fell asleep and now somebody needs to put basically a cracker under your feet, right? So no wonder that humans were always fascinated with fire, right? It took a while to cultivate us, to know like really when do you get what you need to get. And this is basically the key, just like also with fire elements. But when the humans kind of learn how to govern fire, it changed our lives dramatically, right? It's basically the heat that we get from the fire, but also light, and all of a sudden we could actually cook food, and we know that cooked food is like more satiating, right? And kind of like having the fire at night, it keeps predators away. So it is like definitely kind of like protection element, right? So in this particular card, we are seeing basically a ceremonial fire dance, I think from Samoa, which basically was to ignite the passion of warriors before battle. Warriors. You know which card represents warriors? Chariot. And you know which sign Chariot represents? Yours truly. So what are your passions, Cancers? What turns you on? Okay, I don't mean that kind of details. So what is really kind of like igniting that inner flame and creative spark in you, right? Maybe you're feeling devoid of passion, right? Or creative pursuits, right? You know, like we call it fire in our belly. These kind of all expressions exist for a reason. It is something that makes you kind of like move forward, something that gives sense to life and why I'm going through this just like one more day, right? Passion is not something that comes on the outside, unlike fire. Passion is something that comes from inside, even though outside events and circumstances may trigger it, but ultimately is the fire in your belly inside. So it looks like that you'll be overwhelmed. It's kind of like really strong feelings, and the cessation itself can be something that will motivate you to act. Let's see if I can get this sort of like from the little higher perspective over here. So open yourself to what you're passionate about. Figure it out. Be at least open-minded to see how to address it, because you're going to really feel something really awesome. You're having both 10 and 1 and the ace. So look at this. Harmony is basically the key. It's not the happiness, it's not love, but it's harmony. So there it is. You're having this gorgeous dolphins, and just please, please, please do not swim with dolphins or anything of that kind, because they actually torture this very intelligent kind of like beings with that, and I think electrocute them. Anyway, I'll derail myself a little bit, so let's come back on the subject. So look at this heart chakra being fully activated. So boy, what a great time to do it. And you being water, you're ready to go with the flow. And guess what this card is talking about? Yep, you have two ways. You can relax and trust the process, or you can flip around and try to swim upward or sideways, and guess how easy that's going to be. So it is sort of like a passive emergence into kind of like the new process. But then you also have this like two really beautiful cards. You have guidance and you have compromise. This card is really talking about grounding yourself. Maybe looking for an expertise, maybe trying to figure out, because the compromise, and I'm going to tell you what really compromise means, because most people just take it, oh, everybody loses, right? Com means two, both. Promise, two promises. Actually, to me, as basically person who learned English in my teens, I had to learn word by word, right? So compromise really means the best of both. But we kind of learned over the years, and with many lawyers out there, that actually means both lose something. In this particular Osho Zen deck, as you see, like these are two basically Japanese, well, basically crooks, because they were running the court administration. Why? Because they actually knew the system. It was like not such a thing as schooling to go and become a legal clerk. So the showing the pinky was coming out and saying, okay, you know what, fine, truce, kind of a thing, right? And it is about that give and take. It is about, okay, you know what, I can live with this. In fact, I can thrive on this. And it's going to be maybe going from a really high, lofty ideas with that fire in the belly, but kind of grounding them, because most people go in the pursuit of happiness, which is really, frankly, one of the most idiotic things you can do, because we psychologists see happiness all the time when bipolar people have their manic basically episodes, and they're happy, 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 happy. They can go for 7 days and then just like simply crock, right? Happiness is actually, and this high positivity, very destructive emotion. It's burning you down too much. So this is basically saying more of a balance, but you are kind of like going to feel really unlike yourself. You're going to feel completely different vibration. You also have existence. And look, make a wish. It's a shooting star, Cancer. And there is like this opening, completely new cycle happening for you. Maybe some of you will start some kind of like new business, new venture, new relationship that is going to be built completely different, because you definitely have this motion of going to the next stage. You might have this guy showing up who's going to be so confident, so awesome and confident. You're going to think, where were you? Finally, I just wished upon the star and here you are. Or a woman, because it's going to be like really rebirth. Like this existence card is like now understanding this is how things work. This is kind of like a really crucial lesson, which actually is much easier for you to learn than from fire or air signs, because oh my gosh, fire and air signs would just struggle. Fire would try to show how they can actually handle this with muscles, and I'm in a great physical shape, right? Same as like basically earth signs. And air signs would try to figure out, how do I win in this situation? I have to figure out a solution, which kind of like you're running against the time, which is kind of like really cool. But what if the waterfall is down here in front of you? You really have to kind of figure out this way. I was just watching on Facebook a few days ago. Oh my gosh, and it's a horrible example given what Toronto went through. I live in Toronto. We had this like really accident where Canada really lost its, let's call it, virginity. It's unheard of for people with a van running in a crowd and killing 10 people and injuring another 15. It's kind of really weird, but that morning I was watching on Facebook a stunt woman showing how and saying like, I don't know why we have so many basically accidents where the trucks and buses are hitting. Well, this was not the same in Toronto. This guy purposely did it. So she was saying that you need to really relax, and that leg, here will be the vehicle maybe trying to hit you, and the leg that comes here, you shouldn't ever have the strength in it. So just like basically lean into it, and that's basically going with the flow and surviving. So instead of like going head to head, you're really going pinky to pinky kind of a thing over here, guys. So this is kind of like really interesting. You got lots of messages, but keep in mind that all of these cards were reversed, so you would really need to work on all of them. That you probably are blocking your own flow, you are blocking your own harmony. There will be possibilities about reaching some kind of consensus, reaching some kind of agreement. Don't stand in your own way. Even if you can come up with existence reversed, is really talking about when we are our worst, because we think we can get away. This is where the thinking is, you know what, I know how to kind of like swindle you. Be careful, because this actually would really not work well for you even in the short term. This was the card that was jumping out when I was shuffling Three of C. That's the happiest card in the deck, and it's kind of feeling of comfort, acceptance. Look at this, spectacular, right? Kind of like everybody's kind of welcome over here. So it kind of like is that harmony, that kind of relaxation. This is the card of friendship, kind of like finding people who are close to you. And Earth Kitten is, yeah, you're speeding up. You very much along the same lines, right? Look at the stranger over here, but the stranger is like feeling so like home. And here we are exploring even more. Like look at this, like porcupine, and everything is welcome. The world is like our oyster, kind of like you will be exploring this kind of situation. You see, you just came from some kind of turbulence. So boy, I just remember your reading for the past month. It was like quite depressing, right? And something happened so sudden that it just like took you off, and it was kind of a little hard to even balance yourself. This is a shocking force that says you have to reinvent yourself. And here you have Seven of Earth. Some kind of patience that maybe you had is running out. So be careful, especially when you have the Fire as the guiding basically card over here. Patience is the key, right? Fire, patience. Fire, patience, right? Well, we have Sea Kitten. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And then we had Going with the Flow. Cancers, you'll be flirting this month. You might be starting something new, either a new phase, or that can be somebody completely new, and somebody who is going to come to the side door. Somebody could be a co-worker or a friend already. Somebody was maybe your shoulder for crying, and somebody just is going to be seen like, remember this girl, what's her name, Alicia Silverstone, was she? From the Clueless, the last scene. If you didn't watch the movie, sorry, it's like spoiler alert, kind of like muted for 15 seconds. She was like, oh my gosh, I love Josh. And it's kind of like, oh my god, it's kind of like realization of something, and somebody who was much different you would not even consider. Consequences. This is actually a good card, and it is like kind of really interesting because it's coming into something that might quickly happen. So be very careful how you play, how you kind of like step in this dance, because you might jump into something too quickly, and it kind of might not be something you can really handle, because I kind of like see this air and fire, right? So always think with sort of like goal in mind. I was just telling to Gemini, you have to think about the journey, not the goal. I'm telling you the opposite, because this is a card that talks about balancing things, because it looks like you were completely out of balance, and this is kind of like coming back, coming like to kind of like cut off any cords, anything that is still kind of like stopping you. So let's see. Cancer, Seven of Sea, it's reversed. Maybe to some extent you feel that you do not really have many options. You see, now we have two sevens. Remember how I talked about Chariot, and this is kind of like where it's kind of like showing through. This is kind of talking about illusion. Be careful that you do not build your life on soap bubbles, because the kitty is thinking this is like a world. Oh my gosh, look at the reflection. Then you touch it and go woof. So that's maybe why the consequences came here, because this is a karma card. This is going to be karma at play this month for you guys. And then you have a Fire Queen. Here you had a Fire King, and she's also reversed. Somebody is coming toward you. This could be like that ideal partner that you want, but somebody could be very maybe vain, very demanding, maybe even overly that could be a tidbit narcissistic person, because look at this fireworks. It's like somebody who is like, let's be honest, Madonna, right? Just like, please, who was that, J-Lo, that she needs her basically path to be sprayed with perfume when she walks through it. Sort of like, it's just like you raise your eyebrows, is it really even possible? So hopes and fears. The Empress Reversed. Why is she clingy? This is both kind of giving me clingy energy. You kind of like want to move out, but you're going to tangle yourself up. Nothing serious, but still there is tanglement up. Sort of like 2 steps forward, 1 step behind. And that's probably the compromise. And that's maybe what this is talking about. Yeah, you know, you don't get all of it. You kind of like right now are stuck. So when you kind of like get stuck, you kind of have to drop some of the things, and probably this is how it's going to work. And we have the cat reversed. The cat reversed is like talking about new starts, but like this cat doesn't have a plan. This cat is sort of like going cluelessly left and right, not realizing that kind of like it's going far away from home. You know, cats sort of have the border built in. I used to walk my cats and around the block, and they would walk, literally. They would actually, I had 4 cats at one point, and they would just follow me. I would just walk slowly around the block, and they would be actually hopping around me, and everybody in the neighborhood really laughed about my little crowd. No leash, nothing. But when I wanted one day to go a little bit further, that's it. They were just sitting there and meowing, right? That was their boundary. So here is the cat that is completely forgetting about his boundaries, which is great, but it's getting lost, and hence maybe a little foolish. So definitely I see switch. There is like something really magical happening. You're having lots of like fresh and new things, but this also is about the children and about things that we care, and there is like still some kind of concern about our loved ones, right? There is like this concern about, you know, maybe we are missing somebody, maybe somebody's just like not coming through for us. But I still see here, guys, the sea kitten is like that very light feeling of kind of like saying, you know what, life is good, and I should really kind of start moving forward. So let me check a few cards for you. I actually want to check the 7 of Earths. So what is this impatience? So what is kind of giving up on something here? And you have a foe, you have scholar, and despair. This could be your ex. This could be somebody who is trying to kind of like come to your space, who is maybe kind of driving you nuts. It could be somebody from work. It could be simply just talking about your own relationship with, you know, money. Because I did see like, I mean, work coming up, kind of like really kind of stabilization and moving forward. So you are kind of like really putting certain things to rest, and this is good. And like, I mean, I don't know, like that's what I saw last month, is despair, and this is showing up here as well. And you kind of like are finally not going in that direction. And I want to see the Empress. Oops, how many? No. I just like want 1 or 2. The Empress, and then I also want to see the cat. Empress. We have the Prison, and then we have the Servant, but both reversed. Prison is really good card when it reverses. So something is not serving us. Something we are still tied to somebody or something, but we are releasing that. So this is like where I saw that somebody, could be a family member, it could be a loved one. There is like definitely a sense of kind of like the consequences card always kind of like put things in order again. You know, you hired somebody to clean your place. Everything looks great for 5 minutes, but this is like where you're getting, and then it looks like it's again starting all over, the game of life. But here is like something that has been learned, something that doesn't serve you, something that you want to get out of. And let's see the cat for Cancer. And you have the Pleasure Seekers and Priest. And yeah, really be aware that your pendulum doesn't swing on a completely different side, because after all, let me remind you, you do have fire over here. This is not your element. Be cautious, because there could be consequences. But altogether, it's going to be a really enjoyable and loving month. Just know your limits. All right, Cancer, I hope you enjoyed this, and I would love to hear your comments. Please subscribe so you get an invite for my live session. And you can check my Facebook and Instagram for your daily dose of tarot. And until the next time, you can check and get your reading from my website, cattarot.ca.